Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Custom Job Showcase, the special Transform Race edition. In this episode I decided I would rather just talk over it regularly with some regular commentary since it's a special episode, and I kinda want to get into what these races are all about rather than some live stream footage. First up we have Dockyard Multicourse. Now Dockyard Multicourse has a variety of vehicles in there, and I think it does a couple of interesting things. One of those is where you go straight down with a tank. Now it can be a bit awkward if you don't watch out, mainly because of course the camera also controls the gun turret, which means that you could end up like Jade and you're flying off the map. Poor girl. All around I do think it's a nicely balanced map with some land, sea and air, and especially for the very first things that we're seeing in this custom job showcase, I think it's only going to get better as time goes on. Up next we have C20 Decepticons. And before I start talking about this race, I want to say two things. First of all, you're a genius for putting your YouTube channel on a blip as soon as the race starts. Second of all, I'm blurring that out because fuck your self-promotion. Now about the race itself I think does a couple of interesting things. However, I feel like there is too much transforming going on within this race. I think that kind of needs to be balanced out. One of the reasons why I decided to put it in here anyway is because of one certain section which I thought was very cool and very nicely done. This section is where you actually transform into having to walk and do an obstacle course on foot. I personally feel like if the creator would flesh out this map a bit more by spreading out those transforms and turning them into something where they make a bit more sense rather than pretty much every checkpoint you're changing it to something else, it could turn into a much more interesting race. And keep the running section in there. It provides for a very cool middle section which people definitely don't see coming. I know I didn't. I enjoyed it a lot. Up next we have Maximum Overdrive, where you start in a Wagner and then transform into cars which have maximum overdrive, such as the Oppressor and the Rocket Voltic. Overall I feel that I only pretty much have one issue with this map, and I guess that's me failing at actually being good at it. It's that little one section where you can very easily fly out of the corner if you don't anticipate that, and it's also quite deceptive because there's this one particular section where you'll see me fail and fall off the map, mainly because I thought that if I took the corner too wide I'd still be caught up by the fence on the side. However, it turns out there's a tiny bit of air between there, making your car fall. I don't know if this was a design choice or an error by the creator itself. However, my dumbass fell for it twice, so it's not completely asshole proof I guess. But if this was your intention, smart move sir, I fell for it. Up next we're moving on to PC with Don't Stop Believing. Kenji has blessed us with a map. You start off with a caddy and then you can choose to go left or right. But here's a pro tip. Choose wisely to go left or right. If you go left, you'll get a Molotov. If you go right, you'll get a Pyro. Now the Molotov is not as agile as the Pyro. However, it's faster in a straight line. So pick your poison wisely and you might actually get some advantages in certain sections with either vehicle. Now this transform race involves a lot more flying than actual air vehicles, but I think there are plenty of sections in there which do make it interesting enough to still consider it being a transform race. It's a point-to-point and it wouldn't be a Kenji Redwood map if there wasn't a UFO flying in the air with boost pads beaming up to him, and that being the final section of the map. Very cool indeed. Next up we have Hyper Stunts. Now Hyper Stunts does a lot of very interesting things. You know those hoops? You see, it actually guides you what the quote-unquote best route would be. You don't actually have to follow it, but it does work out pretty well if you do so. There's a lot of variety going on with the vehicles, and I feel like the timing of the time you spend in each vehicle is near perfection, to be honest with you. I feel like there's a very good balance in there between those vehicles. You have your driving sections, you have your flying sections, you even get a bit of a taste of some oppressor action as well with some floating boost pads, which makes it very interesting. Especially the oppressor section was something I was a huge fan of, and I really did enjoy that. And then last but certainly not least, we have our buddy Skur also doing an attempt in a transform race. You start off in a sports car where you make your way through traffic set on high. As soon as you reach the pipes, you transfer into a crop duster and make your way through those pipes in this pretty slow and rough to control vehicle, where after you will transform into a buzzard going up through the pipes, and then at the end of those pipes you will be transformed into a Ruiner 2000, making your way back where you came from with the buzzard, which is in my opinion my favorite section of this race. It's a very interesting way of utilizing the same section but then actually making a difference as well. In my opinion, this is probably the coolest thing I've seen today in the transform races, because it definitely shows you what is possible if you put your mind to these transform races. So a very nice job indeed to Skur. And then for those Xbox folks out there, there's also a race for you to play, recorded by the one and the only Quadr. So thank you again, Quadr, for your continued help with this series. It is as always much appreciated, sir. But with all that said and done, that was it for this episode of the Custom Job Showcase, the special Transform Race Edition I've been looking to play and make for a very long time. If you want to submit your transform races or any other maps, then be sure to do that in the comment section down below, and we'll be sure to consider them for a future episode. If you previously submitted, I believe the Quadr has tested them before, so you don't have to worry about that. We'll consider the episode 21 submissions as well, which might mean that episode 23 is going to be quite busy, but we'll see how we deal with that as we get there. New Custom Job Showcase will be available in 2 weeks' time, so we're back on the regular schedule as you've come to know. But with all that said and done, thank you all so very much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe for more, and see you all later. There are places